First 5 years of your tutoring business can feel like a roller coaster. As an online tutor, we get students, we lose students, we get students, we lose students. And there's always that fear of, will I be able to get enough students again? Or is the industry becoming too saturated? And we have these negative thoughts that get pushed into our heads because when we were working a job, it was a whole heck of a lot easier to collect that paycheck every week, right? When we had that feeling of less security in control over who's going to come in our business and who's going to leave our business, we have this roller coaster feeling. A lot of self-doubt will creep on in. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in this video. So today I'm going to be sharing about my own personal roller coaster ride that I experienced and what are some of the challenges that tutors face in the initial stages of setting up an online tutoring business. Because a lot of us don't really know what to expect. And so when things come at us, we think this must be only happening to us. So my purpose today is to let you know that if you're experiencing any of these things, these are all natural and these are the normal things to be experiencing. But also don't give up before the dream and the miracle happen, okay? Because sometimes we're like right on the cusp of creating what it is that we eventually set out to create, and we quit right before we get there. And I want to be able to save you guys that hassle, that pain, that roller coaster feeling, those ups, those downs. They feel fantastic, but those downs, man, they do not feel so good, right? And so I want to help you be able to overcome some of the hurdles that you experience. So when I first got started, I had no idea how to get students. I had from some previous businesses that I had started some online SEO tactics that I could utilize in order to get my business started. And so I started utilizing those things. I began putting flyers out. I put a sign on my car. I did everything that I could possibly do to be able to get students. And now the rest of it was the people seeing those messages and coming on in. And so in the beginning, I just felt like I was like in hustle mode, right? Like constantly putting out every single message, every single place that I could be able to put those messages, thinking, how can I be of value to other people and their communities and all of those things, right? But it always just seemed like in the beginning that you're not doing enough because you don't get all those students right away at once. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing because you're learning everything else with your business, right? You're learning how to properly onboard your students. If you get too many students in 1 week, you guys, I experienced this last week. I ended up making a goal for myself on Saturday that I was going to take on 5 new students. And boom, they all appeared last week. Like in my inbox, I was literally having conversations with 7 different people that were potential, people for tutoring services. And so that includes a lot of stuff, right? And so there's a reason why you don't experience this, because in the beginning, you are not ready for that. I still struggled even with onboarding 5 students really in all 1 week. And so I just want to let you know that there are challenges that you're going to face when you begin to get too much business at once, but that's not going to happen to you in the beginning. I know a lot of people, they have this fear, like, well, if I put up my website, then I'm going to get too many students and all of those kinds of things. And I have to tell you, if you're thinking inside of your head, I don't want to publish on my website because I'm going to get too many students, that will never happen. People don't even know that your business exists. It's like having a storefront with no marketing on the outside of that business that you're open. It looks like an empty store. So people don't even know to go inside. They don't know how to get there. You're not in the GPS yet, right? So I show people how do you get into the GPS of the online world so that people can find you, right? What's the language that you need to use? All of those things. Because in the beginning, nobody knows how to find your business by accident. And so we need to let people know that business exists. And, when we're building on those initial stages, we're really learning about all of the things that we need to take into account with our business. Do we want to be an LLC? Do we want to be a sole proprietor? I was a sole proprietor for the first, I don't know, like 6-8 years of my business, and it worked out just fine. It's the easiest business model to set on up. I am in the US. know that you should do your research and find out what is going to be the best fit for you. That is just the route that I chose to take, and it worked perfectly for me. My husband does my taxes, so I really didn't have to worry about any of that. It was really, really easy to figure out taxes as a sole proprietor. Once you begin becoming an LLC and an S corp, things become a lot more complicated. You need to absolutely 100% have some kind of an accountant in the process to make sure that everything is working out correctly. And if you don't have any clue how to take care of any of those things, then you absolutely should already have an accountant in place to just guide you in those decision making processes, because it's going to make it a lot easier. My husband already had a lot of background knowledge and all of that, so I was able to utilize that for myself. But I remember the month to month not knowing how much you're going to make, and just kind of like the fear and uncertainty that was surrounding that thought process, right? Like, if I lose a client, the fears are so much bigger than they were when I was working in the school system, right? If a student moved or did something like that, it didn't impact me in any way. I still was able to collect the same exact amount for my paycheck. But when I lose a student, in the first 5 years of my business, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I have to go on out there and I have to market myself, and I have to do these things. What if people can't find me? What if people don't know I exist? What if, people say no? What if people say I charge too much? We have all of these thought processes that we don't even think about, that is what's actually hindering us from our success. If you can change the language inside of your head, you're going to then have the ability to immediately attract what it is that you are looking to attract. So if you say, getting my next student is inevitable and I'm excited to work with them, or I am so excited that student is already making their way to me, right? In whatever way, whether it's that the parents' minds are slowly being massaged by the teacher that they need a tutor, or that, that test is coming along the way that is going to show that they didn't get the scores. And so that's going to spark that interest in them searching and then finding you. That changes everything. You are energy, and your business is energy, and your thoughts are energy, right? And when you are on an energetic playing field, you want to attract people on a similar energetic playing field. If you're thinking negatively and these bad things are going to happen, you are going to be attracting those things to you. And it stinks. And you know what? Even when you can have all of the positivity in the world, you are going to experience some of the negative things of starting your own business, which are going to cause your mindset to just be like, go into havoc mode, right? And go into that downward slide. And this just happens. And so we have to constantly be thinking about, how do we pick ourselves up, right? Surround yourself with other tutors, because they've been there and they have done that. That's why I have a networking community that I've started. It's a Tutors Network Together community. Not only is it a place to support you when these things happen, it's also a place where people get to know more about you and can refer you if they happen to know somebody who could, use your services. So it not only is it great because it supports that positive mindset growth that is going to attract the business that you want, but it also supports you in getting to get to know other people in the industry that want to work with you, not against you. And I really think this is the big thing. In the beginning, I didn't see a lot of people back in 2010 who wanted to collaborate together, right? It was kind of like a dog eat world out there, right? And I am so excited that I've gotten to bring a whole new side and energy to the tutoring world of, let's collaborate together, because together we're better. I really do believe that, you guys. And so surrounding yourself with people that can help you in your business is going to be huge. Now, I know a lot of people have said, like, if you're getting started in the first 5 years now, you're seeing a lot of people who might be saying things like, oh, but I only want in-person tutoring. Right? I'm going to tell you that since the pandemic, more people are open to the idea of online tutoring. And it takes a whole heck of a lot less work than it did back in 2010. Will you still have people who say those things? Yes. Can you overcome an objection? So one of the things that I find in the beginning is that tutors don't really know how to handle objections. And how do you respond to that when somebody says that? And last week I had somebody who said it to me. They had found me on Google. They were like, my son really does better with in-person tutoring and all of that. And I just said, right now might not be a good fit. I only have 1 day left and I only do online and I don't have anything available right after school. So the only time that I have available is 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Not sure if this is going to be a good fit for you, but if you want to do a free assessment and find out if this could be a good fit for him, I'm open to that. And what do you think he did? He said yes. And I was just like, "Oh, was not expecting that." I was kind of expecting him to go away, and start searching elsewhere for a tutor, but no, he still wanted to he's open to the idea, and I think the pandemic really did that for people. I think it opened people's minds to saying, "Look, it's possible, and if this person's been doing it for as long as they've been doing it, it probably can happen," right? I would say in the first 5 years, you're also dealing with having a flexible mindset when technology issues happen and kind of having a backup plan, right? So I had to be able to think on my feet. And so knowing some of those things that could go wrong was really helpful for me. Now, I didn't know all the time some of the things that were going to happen. Like I had somebody come onto the screen and there was no sound whatsoever. I could not hear them. The parent could hear me, but I could not hear them. Obviously, I can't do a session or an assessment under those conditions, right? The parent said, "How about we do the sound on the phone?" Now, this was a parent who had some really great flexible thinking. Most of my clients don't have that kind of flexible thinking. So I automatically just said, "You know what? Let's try that." And so now I'm able to actually try that with other people when there's no sound for whatever reason. It could be that they just updated their Zoom, right? But they didn't shut down their computer before starting the session. That is one of the big things that will cause problems within the session. Other things that will happen that will cause sound issues is they don't know how to turn on the sound, right? And so they need to figure out on their computer, how do you do that? It's not the same on every single computer. I've had 3 different computers in my business, and it's been 3 different ways that I've had to do it. So, I just have to kinda walk them through the process, like, look inside of first, I tell them to look inside of Zoom, right? I'll say, "Look inside of Zoom," and some of the times I can be typing this on in, or sometimes I write it in OneNote, or if even one of my students is having problems in the middle of a session, I can just write, "Get mom," right? I try to use because I work with little ones a lot of times, and usually I've gotten to the point where they can phonetically sound out "get mom," right? Those are 2 super simple words, and then they're able to go get mom to help them with the situation. But if they're struggling in the beginning of the situation, I just share with them, "Go to the video icon and see if you could turn that on," or "Go to the sound settings and see if the sound settings are hooked up to your computer right now and or your headset or whatever it is." Sometimes I'll say, "Take out the headset, join me back in," because sometimes the headset's causing issues, right? So you start to learn these kinds of tactics so that you don't lose out on the session, right? You want to be able to keep that session going and moving forward versus having to make it up or having to do a refund or any of those kinds of things. We want to make sure that we're serving our students. And those are just some of the things that you begin to learn over time, which is why you don't want to have like all of your students coming at you at once because you'd never be able to handle. So, it's kind of like parenting, and, so any of you who are parents, you're totally gonna get this analogy, right? When your very first baby is born, you automatically you think, like, it's gonna be, like, so much work, so much work, so much work, but you don't realize, like, how much they sleep, and you're like, yes, you're tired and you're exhausted, but you thought it was going to be a whole heck of a lot more work. But then as they get older, obviously, it becomes a lot more work, right? You're kinda eased on into parenthood. With the first child, definitely that is not the situation with the second and the third, I will just say, but you're really eased into parenthood with that very first child. And when you start, an online tutoring business, you're eased into it, right? You're learning what are the things that I can do to get students? What are the things that I can do to handle difficult situations? All of those things are happening within your business and can be part of that entire thing. So you've got not knowing how to get clients to tech issues happening during your sessions to your mindset playing games with you and trying to work against you, right? Versus working for you. And we talked about how networking can really help with that. Now, this is really, we are in a time, you guys, within our business that, the first 5 years might be a little rocky or shaky. And if you've got another income stream, great. Like if you've got another job, he's into building your business with that job so that you can eventually release that job or make sure that you have enough savings to really help and support you during that first and second year so that you can have you can feel confident. I would say that wasn't the situation that I had. I had a health scare and I was kind of pushed out of the school system because I needed to take time for myself and my family. But at the same time, I knew I needed to make an income. We needed to live on two incomes. We did not have the ability to live on just one income. I mean, we probably could have made it work somehow, some way, really scrimp and save. And we did a lot of couponing. We shopped at Aldi. Like we did a lot of those kinds of things to really make things work. But I almost feel like my drive was 10 times stronger because of being in that situation. Like it was like a do or die situation for me. Like if I don't figure out how to start my own online business, I have to go back to the school system, and that was kind of the promise that I made to my husband, and there was no way I was going back to the school system. So I was going to figure out any possible way to stay. Sometimes when you're in those dire situations versus kind of feeling a little bit more relaxed going on into it, sometimes you take more control of the driver's seat and think about all the different things that you can do to be able to really grow your business. But I've also seen other people who they've got the savings in place. They're in a good position, and then they slowly build their business and have success. So it does work both ways. Um, I'm not sure if I necessarily like it really depends on your personality, right? And what drives you and motivates you. When somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm completely driven and motivated to prove them wrong. Like I had so many people telling me, Joanne, you can't do online tutoring. Like no kid can learn how to read online. And I was like, they can, and I will prove it to you. And then when I found out I could do it better, I was like, "Whoa, that's awesome." And that motivated me even more when I could see the results that students were getting because of the online tutoring. So I had these negative, outputs coming in from people saying that I couldn't do it, and I used that. I used that to fuel me. Now, some people will use that and they'll buy into it. They buy into the stories, right? If that's you, then maybe you do wanna have a little bit more of the security and the income supporting you so that you have the ability to really get started. Because, I mean, once you start doing this, you guys, your income doesn't have a cap anymore, okay? When you're in the school system, you have a cap to your income, and I want you to think about that. The most you can make is blank, and that it's different depending on where you live and what country you're from, but there's a cap. When I work for myself, there is no cap. Yes, I can run out of hours, but I can all of a sudden become really creative and think of what are other ways that I can bring in income, right? So today I bring in income through my YouTube channel, through Amazon and selling books, through the courses that I sell, through creating a community with other online tutors, through some people create additional income streams by hiring other tutors, right? So your income is only capped at where you are at, okay? When you are capped by your thought processes, you are capped if you're in the school system by what they tell you can make. But when you move above and beyond this point in your business, and this will usually happen around year 2, year 3, you start thinking about, okay, so I've sold all my hours. Now what? And you get very creative and thinking, "Oh, I could hire other tutors. Oh, I could start coaching other tutors, or I could start creating resources to sell to parents that would support them." You really get creative. You have that ability to get creative, and you're not capped by that creativity. That creativity can take you to the next step, and to the next step, and to the next step. So, yes, the first 5 years can be a roller coaster. But know that the roller coaster is worth it. You have the ability to make double the money working half the hours, and you have the ability to add additional income streams. And to me, that makes every single day worth making that decision of leaving the school system and starting my own business. So I would love to hear from you guys in the chat. Write down in the comments what drives you to success. Are you feeling the roller coaster in your tutoring business? I want to hear it, and I hope this can help you guys. On Thursday, you guys are going to get to hear some other stories of other tutors that have been experiencing the roller coaster ride and what it's been like for them, and really get a good sense of, like, look, you're not alone. We feel this, but there are things that we can do to overcome them. And I think that is the beauty of the message. So thank you guys for joining us. If you like this kind of content, please like this channel, subscribe, like this video, subscribe, and join us on Thursday.